Hi everyone, welcome to This Week in Research, a weekly show where we look at scientific studies that have been published over the past 7 days. The first one that we have for today is quite a fun one, where researchers found that the music that you listen to between the ages of 10 and 30 will define you for the rest of your life. They call music from this period as self-defining, as it connects people to periods, other people, and places in their life that is important to their identity. And if you were asked to pick a song and you were sent to a deserted island, you would select songs from this period in your life. So the researchers analyzed the music choices of listeners who called into a British radio show that asked listeners which songs they would pick with them if they had to go and stay on a deserted island. The researchers found that half of all musical choices were seen to be important between the ages of 10 and 30, a period that has been commonly known as the reminiscence bump. However, they say that their new study reveals that it is more helpful to think of this period as a self-defining period because it is characterized by enduring memories that support our senses of who we are. So more specifically, they found that the frequent reason for choosing a song was that it reminded the guest of their relationship with a specific person, such as a parent, partner, or friend, followed by a memory of a period, such as reminding someone of their childhood or remembering playing this at home over and over again. The third most popular explanation for choosing a record was the song's connection to specific memories relating to the formation of identity through life-changing moments. So the next study that we have for today is a report put out by the Campaign for Nature, which shows that protecting 30% of the planet's land and ocean would outweigh the economic costs by 5 to 1 at a minimum. Currently, around 15% of the planet's land is protected and 7% of the oceans are protected, but past scientific studies have shown that this needs to be increased to at least 30%. The report is touted as being the first of its kind and includes the work of over 100 researchers. The researchers wrote that expanding protection to at least 30% of the world's land and ocean and effectively managing it would require an average investment of 140 billion annually, depending on which areas are protected by 2030. This is less than a third of the government subsidies being currently directed to activities that destroy nature. But in addition to being good for the environment, protecting 30% of the planet's land will generate an additional 64 to 454 billion, again depending on which areas are protected, so fisheries, agriculture, etc. The report further shows that protection in today's economy brings in more revenue than the alternatives and likely adds to agriculture and forestry, while helping prevent climate change, water crises, biodiversity loss, and disease. Increasing nature protection is sound policy for governments juggling multiple interests. They add, you cannot put a price tag on nature, but the economic numbers point to its protection. Why is it that children appear to be relatively immune to COVID-19, at least comparing to adults? Well, a group of physicians and pediatricians wrote a Prospective paper. This week, a Prospective paper is different than a normal research paper. It doesn't put forward any new scientific research, but rather the researchers use past research that is done to put forward an opinion and a perspective. So in the paper, they first start by noting that only about 1.7% of the first 149,000 cases in the US were infants, children, or adolescents under the age of 18, adding that children under the age of 18 make up a fifth of the US population. They wrote that, quote, "These profoundly decreased rates of symptomatic infection, hospitalization, and death are well beyond statistical significance, require further examination, and may hold the key to identify therapeutic agents." So they believe that this could be due to two factors. First one being the angiotensin converting enzyme 2S, or the doors that allow COVID-19 enter the body cells, and children naturally have less of these in their lungs compared to adults, and so the ACE2 is important for viral entry, and there seems to be less of them in children because they increase with age. Second reason, they say that in addition to fewer ACE2 receptors, the authors note the immune system in children respond to viruses differently than that of adults, leaving less opportunity for severe illness in pediatric patients. There are several different mechanisms behind the differences, including the retention of T cells in children, which are able to fight off and limit inflation. They continue that T cells have a viral response and also an immune modulator response. In severe cases of adult COVID-19 patients, we've seen that those T cells are reduced, so the ability to fight the virus is also reduced. In kids, those T cells seem to be maintained, so they're still able to prevent the virus. As mentioned, this paper was written by a group of both pediatricians and adult physicians, and one of the study's authors highlights the importance of such collaboration in order to treat adults. We as physicians have been challenged with the question of how to treat COVID-19, and we're learning in real time. I knew that to figure out the best way to treat adults, we needed to get a team together to get to the bottom of why children were being spared from severe illness related to the virus. The COVID-19 case rate in US prisons is 5 times higher compared to that of the general population, and the death rate is about 3 times higher compared to general population. Those are the findings of a new study by the University of Johns Hopkins. So the researchers found that the prisoner case rate is 3,251 per 100,000 residents in prisons compared to 587 per 100,000 in the general population. They also found that the death rate among prisoners was 39 per 100,000, whereas among general population is 29 deaths per 100,000. The trajectory of COVID-19 case rates in US prisons is also quite scary. The researchers report that the COVID-19 case rate was initially lower in prisons but surpassed the US population April 14. The mean daily case growth rate was 8.3% per day in prisons compared to 3.4% per day in the US population. The researchers also pointed out that their study focused on prisons but did not include jails or other detention facilities where there have been notable COVID-19 outbreaks. Although some facilities did engage in efforts to control the outbreaks, the findings suggest that overall COVID-19 in US prison is unlikely to be contained without implementation of more effective infection control. The last study that we have for this week is on whole grains and type 2 diabetes. The study adds to the large body of literature that has consistently shown that the consumption of whole grains is associated with lower risk of type 2 diabetes. This latest study had over 200,000 participants, 75% of whom were women. The researchers found that participants in the highest category for total whole grain consumption had almost a 30% lower rate of type 2 diabetes compared with those in the lowest category. One aspect that is novel about their study is that they looked at different whole grain products such as brown bread, brown rice, cereal, oats, and they found that they're all associated with lower risk of type 2 diabetes. And the researchers wrote in conclusion that their findings provide further support for the current recommendations that promote increased consumption of whole grain as part of a healthy diet for the prevention of type 2 diabetes. So that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like the content, make sure to give it a like and hit on that subscribe button. We're a new channel, so every like and subscribe counts a lot, and we've added links to all the studies mentioned in this video in the description box below. So thank you and see you all next time.